What is effect size and how is practical significance different from statistical significance? Stay tuned. Statistical significance means that we have found some result that we can be confident isn't simply due to chance alone. Often this is what you see represented by a p-value. For example, if I flip a coin a bunch of times and it comes up heads statistically significantly more often than 50% of the time, I know that this coin is not a fair coin, that it reliably will come up heads more often than expected. But while statistical significance means that it is a measurable or detectable difference, it doesn't tell you anything about the size of that difference or how much it matters. This is because with enough data, you might be able to statistically identify even very small differences. Imagine that the coin I'm testing has a nick on one edge from jangling around in some stranger's sweaty pocket. Okay, maybe don't think about where your money was before it came to you. That nick causes it to have a slight chance to flip heads more than 50% of the time. Let's say 501 out of every 1,000 flips. So we flip the coin a few 100,000 times and we're able to detect statistically that it comes up heads 50.1% of the time. In other words, it comes up heads more than we would expect. If I need to flip a coin and decide who gets the last piece of pizza, do I really need to worry about the fact that it is statistically biased? After all, any coin that we would agree is fair is likely to have some kind of bias like this if we examine it closely enough and collect enough data. So the statistically significant difference doesn't make any practical difference. In other words, it doesn't really matter in the real world. So how do we examine practical significance? Well, it's one part judgment call and interpretation whether we care about a result. I can decide what I'll accept as being a so-called fair coin, for example. But we can also quantify practical significance or measure it and convert it into numbers. The most common way to do this is through something called effect size. Basically, effect size is meant to tell you how big the statistical difference is, to give you some idea of how meaningful the difference is. Now, each statistical test has its own effect size measure, and they go by different names such as Cohen's d or Kramer's v or eta squared, and they're all calculated differently depending on the statistical test run. But they usually involve some comparison of the difference between the groups to the variability within the groups. The outcome of this computation is a number which gets larger as the effect size increases. But how big is big when it comes to effect size? This is where it gets to be more art than science, but typically people use published guidelines to represent what constitutes small, medium, and large effects. For example, in a t-test, Cohen's d of less than 0.2 is considered negligible, 0.2 is considered small, 0.5 would be medium, and anything bigger than 0.8 would be considered large. Notice that a statistically significant difference is still considered not important enough to worry about if the effect size is less than 0.2. In most modern scientific papers, you will see not only statistical significance reported, but also measures of effect size. This is a recent development as an understanding of the importance of effect size has increased among scientists, and many journals and many reviewers insist upon including effect size in your papers. To summarize, statistical significance as represented by p-values don't tell us about whether we should care about a result or the practical significance. For that, we use measurements of effect size, estimating how meaningful a given result is. On this channel, when I calculate a statistical test, I promise I will include the effect size measures along with it. We've got more videos coming up soon about basic statistical tests that are practical for use in psychology. Feel free to like and subscribe to stay in the loop. Until next time, keep thinking. Hey, you know what's fun? Pushing buttons. So why don't you push the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, help us grow our channel so we can get the word out and help as many people as possible. Thanks.